Waiting for some students to join. We'll get started here in just a minute. We're looking at the sun and moon, and of course, Earth, how its placement in and around all affects each other. So we're going to be talking about the Earth, the moon, and how it all relates. Now, we've been looking at apologize. So we've been looking at the relationship of the planets this up a little bit. See it better. There we go. Now, one of the things that we've been looking at there's the sun. So if we have the Earth and we have a moon, and they all line up in line. The sun, then the Earth, and then the moon. You see them in line. So if light from the sun does the light from the sun hit the moon? No. So we have the Earth blocking the light from the moon. So my question to you is, if the Earth or the Earth's shadow is blocking the light from the sun from hitting the moon, what do we call that? Yeah. A lunar eclipse. Now there's something else that happened when the moon lines up still in line, but you had the sun, then the moon, then the Earth. Now you had the sun's light still going out, but now it's hitting the moon. So now we have a little shadow here. The sun shines on the moon, which is now in front of the Earth or in between, right? And this shadow is called, what we see is a solar change. A solar eclipse. So you have, when the Earth blocks the light, you have a lunar eclipse. And when the moon blocks the light, you have a lunar eclipse. Now, there's something else that goes along with this. Now, we know the moon has a huge pull on the tides. So as the Earth is revolving around the sun and the moon is revolving around the Earth, what happens when they line up this way? You have 75% water on the Earth. When it lines up this way, it actually pulls on the ocean from the lunar and from the solar eclipse. It creates the largest large tides, the high tides, the highest highs and the lowest lows. And we call this spring tide. The highest high and the lowest low tide. Now, I think I'm going to have to do some extra care to my board. My board's getting a little rambunctious. So we have the Earth, but we have the sun. But what happens when the moon is there? Now, we're not having any effect of the sunlight, right? Everybody's getting sunlight, okay? When the moon is here, it has the least pull because you don't have the sun pulling and the moon pulling. It's just here. What happens if the moon is here? Same thing. Everybody's getting sunlight or reflection of light, and this has the least pull on any. And we call this neap tides, like a little chicken. Neep, 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 neep. Neap tides, small. That has the smallest high tide and the highest low tide. So on neap tides, there's just not much change. The high tide isn't very high. The low tide isn't very low. On the reverse, on the spring tide, when we have them located in line with the Earth and the sun, then you have spring tides with the highest high tide and, that's right, the lowest low tide. So, a couple questions. What causes the moon to rise and fall? Yes, the moon rises. You can watch it go across the sky, just like the sun. So what causes that? Yes, it's revolving around the Earth. That's exactly right. Why does you think that the moon looks the same size as the sun, especially if you get a blood moon or a blue moon or a harvest moon? They look bigger than the sun. How is that possible? The sun is 149, 150 million kilometers away from us. The moon is only 380, 390,000 kilometers away. Big difference. So if I take this pin, which is much larger than this pin, see, it looks bigger, but it's not. So lunar eclipse is the Earth's shadow blocking the light. a solar eclipse is the moon blocking the light. Spring tides come when the earth, the moon, and the sun are in line. It can be moon, earth, sun, or earth, moon, sun. Either way provides a spring tide. Will also provide a lunar or solar eclipse. Now, when you have the earth, the sun, and the moon in either position, but not in line, you get what's called a neap tide, like little baby chickens. Neep, 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 neep. Whatever it takes to help you remember it. So I'm going to let that wrap it up. Good class. Have a great day.